Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then we can get going. Okay. All right. Everyone see that okay? We're good? All right. All right.
We're good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome to the Brand Spark Crash Course. Today we're going to talk about a brand positioning workshop. It is hosted by yours truly. And I tried really hard not to wear the same blazer today. I almost put it on and I was like, should I match my picture? I don't know. Talk about branding, right? All right, so a little bit about myself and why I love branding. So I am Caitlin Penny. I am the CEO and brand expert here at Copper Theory Creative. Actually started this company almost 9 years ago. And so in August, I will hit my 9-year anniversary. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about the origin story because I feel like everybody starts somewhere, right? I spent a lot of time in the print industry and just getting some experience in the field. I have my BFA in graphic design, and so I actually started out as a graphic designer and a printer way back when. Now we are a full-fledged branding and design agency, aka marketing. I just don't say marketing because if I come into a room and ask people, have you ever worked with a marketing agency? Most people put their hands up in some capacity and then keep it up when I ask, have you ever had a bad experience with that marketing agency? So, that being said, we focus a lot on strategy. This isn't some get rich quick scheme. We specialize in the health and wealth industries. And so it is think diagnosis before the prescription. Before we do anything, we have to do an assessment on your business, see where you're at. We want to hear what you've tried, what didn't work, where you're at, what your goals are. And so when we have that information, we're able to put together a very customized strategy, and then I also have the team to implement it. So we are a team of 5 now. And I absolutely love branding because I am very much relationship based. Before we work together, I really want to get to know you. This isn't, I want to be a TikTok influencer. If you come to me and ask me for a website, I want to know why. And it's just a great time, and I really like getting to know people. And by the end of this conversation, you guys will know I like to talk, so great for me, right? A little bit on the personal side, I am originally from New Jersey. I moved to Arizona about 20 years ago. I have a big pit bull named Herbie. He's about 75 pounds and he is my baby boy. And I am the biggest Harry Potter nerd you could possibly ever meet. So if any of you are on that game, challenge accepted. I will beat you in trivia. So, a little bit about what you'll get from today's session. Today, we are going to talk about brand positioning and where you all are at in your business and what you'd like to accomplish. We will also talk about your unique value proposition. So, you're not the only one that has a business in your industry. So let's figure out what makes you stand out and use that in your messaging, in your very clear messaging. And then we're going to talk about how that actually will help you make some money. When you niche down, it actually helps boost the revenue instead of holding you back. So, brand positioning really matters for a lot of different reasons. One of the best pieces of advice I've been able to give after all this time is you being you is absolutely the best thing you can do, and it is totally okay. Because when you're your full, unique, authentic, genuine self, people can really see that. And if you're not, people can really see through that. And so when we have all the pieces put together in your brand positioning, it's going to attract like-minded people. In our company, in Copper Theory Creative, we actually have what I call the vibe check. I don't know how old everyone is on this call, but I'm thinking I might have to, change the wording on that to be hip, which is also not a very cool word with newer and startup companies. But it's when we put together a vetting process, it really makes it a lot easier for you to work with your clients because you have the processes and systems built out, and you have the vetting process built out. That way, you can know exactly if these are your ideal customers. And I hope that all makes sense so far. Um, Let's see. All right. So a little bit about, what brand positioning actually is. Your brand is way more than just a logo on a piece of paper. It's the space you occupy in your customer's mind. So now is probably a good time for me to say, if you all want to chime in, have any questions throughout this presentation, I'm totally open to that. I love having the conversation as mentioned. And so if we have any questions along the way, please feel free to do so. When you work on your brand positioning, you can either have strong or weak positioning. Some of those things that are that are pretty easy to point out is, clarity. If your messaging is all over the place, if your branding is all over the place, if your visual branding is different than it was yesterday, there's no consistency, and that really makes you look like an amateur in business. And I this is my warning right now. I'm pretty bold about how I speak about this, so please don't take it personally. I'm only here to help. So when you have strong positioning, there's really a confidence boost that comes with that, because you do know your stuff. You're the expert in your industry, and you want to position yourself as so. And so when your messaging and things like that are all over the place, people tend to look at that as unprofessional. And so we want to make sure everything is clear and concise. When it comes to weak positioning, it really looks to your ideal target market that you lack focus. You're maybe not doing the same thing you were yesterday. You don't have a niche, and we'll get into that because I know it took us a while, so that's okay. But you'll have to figure it out at some point, and it's great to even try things out and then go from there and evolve as a company. Because if you're not paying attention to the industry, the market, you change as a person every day, and so does your business. And so just keep that in mind. You learn things, and so will your business. So let's not make it confusing for people, and let's be clear. All right, so let's talk about some obvious examples of good brand positioning. So I'm going to say, just a guess, that most everyone knows what this logo is, right? Without even saying the words. So Nike has been around for a long time. Their motto is just do it. And we don't even have to have the word Nike underneath this symbol for you guys to know who they are. They have very good brand consistency and brand loyalty and brand awareness. There is a specific target market that they work with, and it's not just shoes. Let's be real. They're selling motivation. They're selling athletic excellence. They're selling perseverance. They encourage you to keep trying. And this brand is all about perseverance and excellence in performance, which resonates with athletes because they're constantly working towards a goal, right? Let's just say we're all a little bit competitive at heart, maybe just a little bit. And so this also applies to the everyday consumer. You don't have to be an athlete to like Nike. I'll be quite honest with you guys. I was wearing, sporting some Nikes yesterday. I do not play sports. I don't consider myself very athletic. However, I still purchase from the company. So that shows just the expansion of the company, and just about how many people they really reach on a daily basis. Now, if we flip that, I don't know how old everybody is in this room, but I'm old enough to know what Radio Shack is. And Radio Shack is non-existent anymore, in case you guys were checking. So what's the problem here? What even is their brand anymore is my question, right? When it comes to the problem of a weak brand positioning, they were once known for tech gadgets. They were brick and mortar stores. You can go there and just about buy anything electronic that you needed. But they lost their positioning as they got older because they didn't evolve with the market. Lots of online brands, you have big box stores, you have Amazon, and instead of niching down, Radio Shack still tried to appeal to the masses, and therefore it got really confusing, and they faded out, and now they're no longer a company. And fun fact, I feel like a lot of people don't know this. They actually, in a very desperate attempt, tried to position themselves as a cryptocurrency company before they went under. And so I don't even know how that makes sense. Off the top of my head, that doesn't, the dots aren't connecting on that one. So I hope that gives you a good example of what strong brand positioning is versus weak. All right. So we talked a little bit about the differences here, but let's talk about some serious common mistakes in brand positioning. I mentioned this already, but if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're appealing to no one. You guys can fight me in the parking lot later. But if you come to me and say your target market is everyone with a or everyone, um, your messaging isn't landing with the people you want to. The people that are actually your specific target market and clients don't know, because when they look at your stuff, when they look at your advertising, when they look at your website and messaging, it's really not specific enough for them to sit there and say, "Oh my God, that's me." You're not touching on the pain or pleasure points that they're experiencing in business. Therefore, they're looking for somebody else. And so they're going to skip over you. You lost your opportunity. And the other thing that also happens is copying your competitors. Now, let's be real. When we're all starting a business, we have to do our research, and branding is all about research. And so we have to do a lot of our due diligence in the research part of our process when we work with our clients to see what's out there. It's always good to know who you're up against. However, you can't just copy and paste the same thing. And you can also relate this in a way to ChatGPT. So I love ChatGPT. However, I've built an entire profile on our company that has all of our specific messaging that our copywriter wrote. Every link compared or linked to our company is on there. I built an entire very extensive profile all the way down to the point where it can write our stuff in my voice. Now, it takes a while to get there, but if you just opened up a prompt on ChatGPT and said, "Hey, I need some marketing headlines to put on my website," it's going to give you the most generic stuff on the internet. It's going to give you, it's sourcing things from other places. We still have to teach it. It's grabbing information from anywhere it can find it. And if you don't give it the specific pieces that define your brand positioning, it's going to give you a generic answer. And yes, ChatGPT works off its own formats. So it's obvious after you keep working in that world if this was written by. And so you have to make sure to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. And that starts with you. That starts with you a lot of the time. And even if you're working for another company, you still have a personal brand and you still have your own clients that walk in the door or hop on Zoom with you. People are coming to you because they like you. It's all about the know, like, and trust factor. And when you establish those pieces in the relationship, people are going to remember you. And you do have to have a lot of touch points. So even, I was just in Milwaukee last week for a business conference, and I went out of my way to put together a lunch with clients and potential clients. And so in doing that, it's keeping me top of mind because I haven't talked to some of these people since maybe we sent them a proposal, maybe since the conference I saw them at last year. And so maybe something in their business has changed and something in yours. So keep the conversation going. And so this is my favorite thing to talk about, obviously, but unclear messaging. Let's not be confusing. When we're trying, the only way you're going to convert your ideal client to being a customer is if they think that you're the perfect match. You have to convince them that you're the perfect solution to the problem they're having right now. And so when you think about that, what is the problem that you solve? And then what is the problem, or what is the solution that they're looking for? And so that's why you're all here today. We're going to talk about target market, your UVP, your unique value proposition, unique selling proposition is what other people call it, and then having a brand story. And I'm not just talking about a bio. All right. So I know that you guys don't want to hear me talk that much. So we're going to do some exercises. I know I skipped introductions in the chat. So if you guys wanted to make sure to introduce yourself in the chat as we keep going along here, I definitely always encourage you guys to connect if there's a power partner situation or maybe a referral partner that you find based in, everyone's information that they provide. Please connect with each other on LinkedIn, do that. And then also, why don't you include, who your target market is in the chat and who's really buying. So when you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to go through a couple points here. And one of those points is, who are you really serving? So what's the problem that you solve? What kind of people are having that problem? And then how do you solve that for them? And how do you solve it differently for them? So when we talk about who's really buying, there's a difference between demographics and psychographics. So does anybody know what demographics are? I only can see like a handful of you, but okay, all right. Um, April, do you want to chime in here? No pressure. Hi,
Um,
how are you?
Great. Thanks so much for this, ladies and gentlemen, and all non-binaries. So am I answering it in general, or what does that mean for my business?
Okay, so why don't you tell us what you do, what your name is, and
Oh,
then give me your best answer for what you think demographics are. How do they apply to you?
yes. Well, honestly, I have resisted. In fact, I was just taking notes and I wrote, I've resisted so long, niching down. 30 years. I'm all about I serve everybody. The whole planet is my family. I that's what
And what do you do, April?
yeah. Well, so many things. That's why it's hard.
Ah, okay.
So I am trying to find even currently as one of my things is coaching people to figure out their unique talents in integrity with their values and leading to a vocation.
Okay,
So that is also what I'm searching for myself in doing this. So I
gotcha.
help the people, and this is everybody on the planet, align their values and unique talents with their vocation.
Okay, okay. And what kind of, when you say everybody on the planet,
Yeah.
I know you heard me talk smack a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, what kind of people are they? Do we know how old they are? What their income level is? What their career path is right now?
Everyone on the planet. Yeah, the
Okay.
more I get clear on this, I really think it's young people, which means 7, 8, 9 years old, that then you would have to, what I'm understanding about entrepreneurship in this position would be really it's to the parents when you're
Okay,
talking about the kids at that age, right? You have to
correct.
get the parents on board. So I think it's the family.
You're not exactly hopping on Zoom with a 7-year-old. Got
Yeah.
it.
But then, young adults, college people trying high schoolers to college age, or the people who don't want to go
Mhm,
to college, that's very interesting to me too. So there's these
mhm.
different targets.
Okay. Okay. Well, as we keep going into this, we're going to talk about different personas, and this definitely applies to you. So you've got the persona of who you're actually helping, which is young kids, and then you've got the persona of the parents. So those are going to be two different conversations in how you conduct business, right? And then
Um,
you have the people right now, what we figured out is you also have the people who might be on the fence. Does that sound about right?
yeah, and then of course
Okay.
everybody else on the planet. I'll just keep saying that,
Okay.
but out of joke. I
Okay.
understand I need to
No,
refine.
I get it. I love the camaraderie. Thank you for coming. Okay, so if I could just keep going with this, then you've got
Yeah.
some demographics about how old they are, where they're at in life. What about the psychographics? Do
When you say the first thing that comes to my mind on that is those who have either desire to up
Mhm.
level their service orientation to humanity,
Okay,
or maybe are already there and want to up level it even more.
okay,
What
okay.
you mean by psychographics?
Yeah, so yeah, think of demographics, and this is for everyone in here. So demographics versus psychographics. Demographics are really going to be the statistics, the data points. So my target
Mhm.
market is 35 to 50, and they have income level of X, and they are a man or a woman or non-binary, or just, all of the things that you can possibly find out per research. But the easiest way to look at a psychographic is if you have a conversation, how are they feeling? What stage of life are they in? What are they looking for? Does that make like it's the personality side of it.
Got
So
it.
yes, you're
Not
coming to the
like
table with
mission. Okay.
sorry, say that one more time.
I was thinking more like mission and motivation,
Well,
maybe.
that's part of it. Yeah. And
Okay.
so they have to be in a certain headspace to be motivated by X or have a mission of X, right? And so when you think about that, they're coming to the table as this demographic. However, after having the conversation with them, you find out that they're motivated by this, and they have all of these aspirations, and it's more, how they're feeling, what the next steps are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Does anybody have any questions based on that? Okay. All right. We're gonna
I
keep
have a
going. Thank
quick
you so much.
question.
Oh,
Oh,
yes. Go
so
ahead.
I have so
Hello,
my name's
Sandra.
Beth,
Oh,
and
hello,
oh
Beth. Sorry.
yes,
Um,
was there somebody else too? Sorry, that
No,
was
no, no.
talking.
Please go ahead. I saw two people unmute at the same time, so I just picked the wrong one. Go
Sorry.
ahead. No, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I am starting an LLC. It's called Parties for Good, and it's kind of harnessing the profits and the proceeds from celebrations and putting that into charitable organizations. And one of the challenges that I'm having um, with the niche is my target audience for kind of like my one-off services is different than like my subscription services. And so
Okay.
each has a target, but they're a different target. And so I'm a little
That's okay.
bit so I'm
Okay.
not sure how to be consistent and within the same
Mm.
organization, but
Okay.
having
Okay.
like there's a different target for two different pieces.
Okay. I have an example for you, so let me know if this aligns or if there are any questions that come with this. So you're not a nonprofit, right?
No, we
Or you
switched
are?
from nonprofit to for profit after talking to some mentors.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
yes.
So, my example is a nonprofit, but I think it still applies. So we work with a
Yeah.
nonprofit called Persevere Now. And
Mhm.
Persevere Now works with men and women that have been previously incarcerated, and they teach them web design so they have a job when they come out, because unfortunately 70% of them go back in. That
Right.
being said, the example here is, while they are designing these classes and programs for the incarcerated, that is one persona, because they have to put together the content based around what those people are experiencing. But when you take a step back out of the program, and thinking of events and how we are generating revenue, there's going to be revenue from donors and, say all of us on this call. So we have that. And then we also have like corporate sponsors or big time donors, which would also be a different target market. So usually in business we have, and I'm so glad that I put in the personas. I'll give you guys an example of ours. Um, so that's coming next, but basically, yes, I understand what you're saying. The messaging for those different peoples. So you said, I almost said prescription, subscription versus what was the other one?
Kind of like single events or somebody who
Okay,
might be buying something for a birthday party or
gotcha.
might is a little bit of a different target audience than what we're providing by subscription, which is more of a geared towards quirky young folks. So it's just a little bit of a
Okay,
different
okay.
audience.
Okay, so there's probably going to be a positioning statement that you have for your company or working on for your company, that kind of encompasses everybody and everything in the entire mission that
Mhm.
you're trying to accomplish. However,
Yes.
when you're talking to when I say I visit your website, There's going to be different opportunities to purchase a subscription, or purchase, single products and things like that. And it's geared towards two different people. That's okay. Your messaging is going to differ based on which part of the website, which event you're going to, which room you're standing in front of. You're gonna have to assess that and take a look, do your research before you enter the room, so you can know what your talking points are. So, for example, I said health and wealth. You guys can do whatever you want with that, but you don't know exactly what that means. Literally, we work with med spas, estheticians, Botox, things like that. But then we also work with nonprofits because I consider that the health and wealth of the community. I'm not going to say the same thing I'm going to talk about to a med spa that I am to a nonprofit. The way
Right.
we structure things and the way we position those brands are two totally different things. People are looking for two totally different services. So you can still be consistent. However, you just have to know who you're talking to. So an easy way to kind of paint this picture for you is, you know, for the subscription model, for the one-time purchase people, you're going to have different pages on your website that talk towards different people. And you just have to be cognizant again of which room you're walking into, so you're not trying to talk to a med spa when you're trying to talk to a nonprofit. They have different goals, so it's going to be a matter of you reverse engineering those goals and figuring out what the best form of action is. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's perfect.
Did I
I'm
just
trying
like
to
word
not.
vomit all over you? Okay.
No, it's perfect. I'm trying to not shoot myself in the foot by being too broad. So it's almost like two separate niches a little bit within
Sure.
the same organization.
And towards the end of this conversation, I'm going to invite you to a 30-minute free brand session. So I would definitely encourage you to sign up and we can kind of dig deeper into that if you're willing.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Of course, of course. Did anybody else have any questions before we move on? Okay, I'm going to keep going. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and then there will be a link later. All right, so coming to the example, I'm going to give you guys one more example before we move on. So this is a different arm of what we do in our company. So I did say health and wealth. I only gave you 2 out of the 4 categories. So we have 4 different personas that we work with. And that might seem crazy, but it's not everybody in the world. It's just 4 people in the world, if that makes sense. So another arm of what we do is, I mentioned personal branding earlier. You're the face of the company. You sell things like real estate or real estate investing or financial services. So we actually go into companies and work with them on their personal brands, even though they work for, say, an Edward Jones. So this real life example, he is Jake from Edward Jones, not from State Farm, but Edward Jones. And Jake works with, he's a financial advisor with EJ. He came to me. He's younger. He's handsome. He has a nice family. He's real, he has a good story. He's really motivated and really wants to help a certain type of person in the marketplace. And so he came to me and he said, Caitlin, I know that we have pre-generated content that's too generic. We have to deal with a lot of compliance and I have to follow specific rules. How do I differentiate myself online compared to all of these other financial advisors? Because we've all been messaged by financial advisors on LinkedIn, and every BNI group or networking group, there's a financial guy there, right? How do I differentiate myself in person and online so people know that I truly do want to help them? So we worked on his personal brand. He was actually our pilot for this program. So we did a workshop all on Jake's personal branding. In addition to the demographics of the people that he wanted to work with, we also looked into the psychographics. So what kind of young people are they? What kind of goals and aspirations do they have in life? Do they want to buy a house? What is the next buy that they want to make? What kind of family are they? What do they do after 5 p.m.? What kind of weekenders are they? And we really built profiles based around Jake himself and what kind of person he is, and then the personas. And then we cross or compared them. And so we found matches and patterns in the people he's trying to target. Therefore, that equals messaging when it comes to social media. And so my story here is that Jake was a really, really, really cool person. He had a lot going for him. He got out of debt. He got out of like $200,000 worth of debt in 2 years. He worked for NASA and like, sent things to space, guys. That is amazing. But at the end of the conversation, I can see the look on his face, and he's just not having my stuff. He's just not having it. And he is just not satisfied with the outcome we have right now. And so I look at him and I said, Jake, don't get discouraged. Tell me what's going on in your head, because it might be the same thing going on in your customer's head or anybody else's head. Tell me how you're feeling. He goes, this stuff just isn't landing for me. There's a reason now I'm a financial advisor instead of a guy that works for NASA. That's not me anymore. I don't want to use this as my personal brand to now promote my financial services. Okay, fine. Do me a favor. Open up your phone for me and look at the just open your photo album for me. And he gives me the weirdest look I've ever seen. And I'm like, let's not make it weird. I just want to see, what do you have in your photo album? And then what do you have the most of? And I think you guys can figure out where I'm going with this. He has two big huskies that are wild, a very big part of his life. Photos on vacation, photos of them dressed up for holidays, photos of them with his now wife, um, family photos. He just got done doing a like a professional photo shoot with his dogs. Like, they are a big deal in his life. And heck yeah, for all the dog lovers in here, that would be me too. Um, we came up with the financial advisor for dog lovers. Now, it seems so simple on the outside, but when you put this on your LinkedIn, when you write a bio about this on your LinkedIn, it makes you stand out instantly. Whoopsies. I was looking at the chat just to make sure. So we designed a bunch of graphics for him. We redid all of his online profiles on social media. We rewrote his messaging to include dog stuff, for lack of a better term. He now has people bring dogs to his business and do meetings. He meets people at the dog park. He meets people at bars to have a beer with them, with their dogs, so they can meet. So he now attracts everybody who is now a dog person and also needs financial services. But that might sound weird, but people are looking for something to relate to. It's a relatability, similarity factor going on here. Oh my God, you're a dog lover. I saw your photos online, Jake. Let me show you a picture of my dog. I mean, it's the same thing as babies, right? Like, I've done it. I'm like, oh, you have a dog? Let me show you pictures of mine. And so it was an icebreaker for him. It allowed people to approach him instead of him approaching them, which is how most financial advisors do their job, right? And so it opened up the floodgates of people wanting to talk to him instead of him cold calling people. And so I hope that kind of gives you an example of thank you, Anita, how this works and how your personal brand will help your business thrive. Okay, so let's talk about those avatars. So usually a company or a business has about 2 to 3 ideal customer profiles. This is in addition to demographics. So in addition to age, where they live, how much money they make, we're also going to explore what kind of goals they have, where they want to be in life, because no matter where you're at in business, when we have a conversation, you and I will always ask you what your goals are. And I'm talking personal and business. I don't just want to hear that I want to make, 100K next year. I want to know, okay, well, first of all, how do you plan to do that is, my strategic question to that. But also, what kind of person are you? What are some personal goals that you're trying to accomplish in the next year in addition to business? Because we have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because you're running the business, let's be real. And so we have to make sure that's taken care of first. And then we can also talk about buying behaviors. Some people are, here you go, Caitlin, give me, take my money. I would love for that to be the fact every time, but it's not. Um, some people need to take a step back and think about it for a couple of days. They like to assess things. They like to read through the contract. They want to make sure they've gone through every single point we've talked about. And then some people need to sit on it and marinate it and make sure that it's the right, buying decision for them at the time. Because we all have, multiple things to invest in at once when we're running a business, and marketing is only one of them. All right. So I would encourage you at this point to think about your different personas. So April, this is the example I was talking about here. This is going to be one of our examples for the beauty industry. So the health and wealth, the literal version of this. So Olivia, always give them a name. It makes them a real person. I don't care if it's your favorite baby name, what you want to name your child because you're pregnant. Your best friend's name doesn't matter. Whatever makes it the realest for you is going to help this make it real when you sell. So think about this. If you're having coffee with Olivia, your BFF, and she's a wellness entrepreneur, what are the things that you know about her on a personal and a business level? So Olivia is well into business. She's 32 years old. Just, fun fact, I'm also 32, so see where that comes from. The industry is skincare and med spa owner. So that one is obvious. I've explained that one. But her personality. So she is not boring. She's creative. She likes to have a good time, whether it is being creative while running her business or having a paint and wine night. She is very trend driven. So this doesn't mean just let's do everything we saw on Instagram yesterday. So everybody calm down. But we want to make sure that we're paying attention to the trends in the industry, because being a wellness entrepreneur in the skincare industry is a pretty hot commodity right now. Like, I don't, maybe it's per my algorithm because we've done our homework, but I get followed by a lot of skincare profiles on Instagram. And so what are they doing? Remember, research your people. Research what other companies are doing. She's going to be paying attention to that. Also, because the technology in the industry is ever evolving. So we want to make sure that we're not sitting on old tech or behind, because people are looking for the best, the best and the latest and the greatest, if you will. Because if you're, going to an esthetician, we want the best facial out there, or it might be the newest trending one on TikTok. And the other thing is that, we might be BFFs, but she doesn't do marketing. She's overwhelmed by it. She's doing everything else in the business. And when you're doing everything else in the business, sometimes marketing falls to the wayside. So why not excuse me, why not utilize your friend in business that has some marketing expertise, and we can talk about it. Her goals. So her goals are that she wants to be a luxury company. Trust is very important to her. So when we're messing with your face, it's kind of a big deal. You don't want people to mess that up, no matter what kind of treatment you're getting. So there's a factor in all of this, in the messaging too, and how she also treats people via customer service. Every piece of the process is going to have an element of trust in it. Also, all of her services are high end. She's keeping up with that tech, but she also wants to stand out, because the things I've said so far are the standard things that every med spa wants to say. So how do we stand out while also providing the best service possible to our ideal clients? Right now, she just rebranded, whether that was a good idea or not. She just renovated her entire med spa. And so now we need something to reflect that high-end brand. So we're not using a Canva logo. She has messaging, but it's a standard messaging of the technical things within that industry. So she's hitting all the marks there. However, there's nothing in it that's really wrapping into the brand of the company or the personal brand of herself. And there's a lot of potential there, because she can also be promoting this on her personal handles on social media. And this is a very saturated market at this point. So what makes her stand out exactly? And then, considering she just rebranded, She doesn't have any consistent visuals that reflect those premium services, because it definitely doesn't look like that right now. And so how do we take everything we've already done? We've done it right. Let's not fix, try and fix what's not broken. But how do we take that and up level the visual brand and the actual messaging that comes with this? And so a little bit about how we would help her is we're the ones who did the rebrand, let's be real. And so we went through this entire process. I mentioned the vetting process, I mentioned the vibe check. She passed all those marks, and we have our own checklist of what needs to happen before we decide to work together, because we have to make sure that this is a good match. Then we took her through the process of the rebrand, and yes, it was a good idea. um then having a logo isn't everything. It's just the tip of the iceberg, as I've mentioned. And when we're looking at all of this, we also have to look 2 years, 5 years into the future. And when we do that, we have to put together a marketing strategy. Just because everyone is supposed to have a marketing strategy, I think there's a question in the chat for you, Lauren. Thank you, Melanie. So even if we're in a saturated market and there are a billion other med spas out there, it doesn't mean that everyone's marketing strategy is the same. And that's where the messaging comes in. That's where the ideal target market comes in. And that's where the brand storytelling comes in. And so what is your origin story? How did this come to be? What kind of story are you trying to tell? And how does that reflect with your audience? So then we also have to take that and create some content. And so a big thing right now in social media, there's never a time where Instagram puts out a PSA and says, hey, we've changed the rules, right? We can find out via research. I don't know if any of you guys in here are in marketing, but when Instagram changed their dimensions on that fun Sunday, everything blew up in our world because no one's Instagram looked, how it was supposed to. Even on ours, heads were cut off, words were cut off, and there's nothing you can do about it. They just decided to give it a go, and here we are. So how do we adapt to that kind of change? And some of the things that have remained consistent or are becoming more relevant for the algorithm is, guess what, guys? They want you to be a real person. They want the storytelling to be authentic and genuine. They want to hear the real stories. They want it to be a little bit raw. They actually don't want it as perfect as you want to look coming out of this med spa. They don't want everything to be so perfectly, video produced online. They want to see the behind the scenes, or what I like to call a day in the life of. So that's going to make you look a little realer. And that's also going to create loyal customers and clients because they can see what makes you you. And I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you a little bit of insight, April. So this is 1 out of 4, but you see how into it we can get, and the more into it and the more conversation we can have, the easier it is while, during conversation. Yes, you are a potential client. No, you're not. Here's the check boxes you need to make sure you fit in first. Okay. So we talked about the personas. Let's now talk about your unique value proposition. So other people call it, your unique selling proposition. This is what makes you you. This is what makes you stand out in a saturated market, even though there are other people that do the same thing as you. Now, I have rewritten this and written this and rewritten this and written this over 9 years. So just keep in mind that this can change in 1 year. It just depends on what happens in business. And I almost expect it to change every 2 years at minimum, because you evolve and you should be evolving at least that fast. And so an easy equation, and I encourage you all to drop this in the chat if you have your own UVP or if you want to give it a stab. I can also walk you through this if you have any questions, but an easy equation for this is we help, insert target market here, solve this problem by providing your differentiator. So to give you an example, just because I know that's so simple, we help blank solve blank by providing blank. start there and it will evolve, like I said. So here's the example for Copper Theory. Copper Theory Creative helps the health and wellness industries create market differentiation by providing the diagnosis before the strategy. So whenever I say diagnosis before the prescription, it makes sense to the med spa owners or the primary care doctors or anybody else in that box, because that's what they have to do. If I walk into a doctor's office and I say, "Hey doc, my Fitbit told me that I'm unhealthy. I need a prescription for Xanax." He's going to look at me like I'm crazy and then say, "We have to run some tests, like blood tests and everything else tests before we give you a diagnosis. I'm not just going to give you a prescription and let you leave." And so we focus on the strategy before the implementation. So going back to this, we help target market solve problem by providing differentiation. Now notice that mine's not as simple. Again, evolve. All right. Paul, thank you. So Barton Murillo Financial helps healthcare professionals, or helps to empower healthcare professionals and liberate them from financial stress by providing tailored solutions. Awesome. Did you already know that coming here today? Yeah, I can see your head shaking. Okay. Talk to me about what your tailored solutions are, if you don't mind.
It's a good question. From my research, I found they have specific problems or issues. It's, I guess, a real big one would be student loans and
Okay.
not really focusing on their financial wellness. So that would
Okay.
be what we're focusing on. And I want it to
Mhm.
be more tailored, I guess, to answer your question, make it more specific to the individual, because not everybody's, uh, you know, goals or even issues are the same. But
Right. You read my mind on that one. Yeah, so I feel like if I could be so blunt, tailored solutions is a buzzword or buzzwords, right?
yeah,
Um, I hope so. If you're my financial advisor. But this, this reminds me of, I don't know what kind of, are you in a BNI or some sort of networking group where you have to introduce yourself on a weekly or monthly basis?
no, not currently.
Okay, so to give you an example, if you go to a BNI group, financial advisors are definitely a person that you always run into there. And so when they have you stand up and give your 30-second introduction, so this is another way we can look at this guy's 30-second introduction that's very specific. Um, they ask you specifically what you are looking for or what you're trying to get out of today. And that could be a referral, but if you're talking about people with student loans, how would you write this for your different personas? So if it's that post-college grad, I'd say, right? Or maybe, okay. So if you're looking at the post-college grad, they have student loans. How would you rewrite this to relate to that specific person? And then write that in for all of your different target markets. Because now I know, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have known that after you put that in the chat. So I was like, okay, all right, I know someone who is struggling to get out of their student debt. They don't have any idea what they're doing and they may have defaulted at this point. I'm going to send them to Paul. But I didn't know that unless you told me that. So how can you put that into the equation for me to know exactly who I should be referring you to? Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, of course. All right, Elizabeth. Okay, so Elizabeth, what's the name of your company?
It's Parties for Good.
Okay, so
But
that
the
is the name of
birth,
the company. Okay.
yeah, but the birthday boxes are like one of the things. That's where I was trying to say, like
Yep.
yeah, there's different
So in
parts.
this
So Parties
case,
for Good is the company.
I'm looking for someone who has, is throwing their kid a birthday party. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the persona. Parties for Good birthday boxes help busy parents take the stress out of party planning by providing just add food parties in a box. So the boxes have food.
They have everything but food. That's the part I
Oh,
need to figure
everything.
out how to say. Just like
Okay.
it's everything you need except for order a
Okay.
couple pizzas and you're good to go.
Awesome. Awesome. So I was just at a kid's birthday, a 6-year-old birthday party yesterday. And mom has 3 boys under the age of 6, so 6, 3, and
Yep.
1, I believe.
Yeah.
That is a lot in
That is
under
my
one
person.
roof, right?
She's my
Okay,
persona.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of that because she has now evolved as a customer for you because she told me, I'm having balloons delivered. I'm having this
Yeah.
delivered. I'm having this
Yes.
delivered. And I don't have to do everything. Setup was 10 minutes. I am crazy Auntie Caitlin. Setup before this took 2 hours. My car was full of balloons. Somebody else was bringing pizza. Everybody had a
Yep.
job. Instead, if she put everything into a box, called you, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Setup is now 10 minutes, and I am not stressed because now I get to enjoy my child's birthday party.
That's the whole thing is like you
Okay.
order the pizzas, have them delivered. We'll send you the box in the mail. You're going to get a box that has
Hmm.
literally everything you need in it.
Exactly. Okay.
So
So,
I just have to figure out how to say that in a very
all right.
succinct way.
Okay, awesome. So I know, okay, real quick, I'm going to put this on pause, Lauren. I know that we're running we only have 4 minutes left. Should I keep going? Is everyone good to stay? Do we have a cutoff?
I actually have a meeting at 10, so I'm going to be parting ways with you
Oh,
all.
okay. All
Sorry.
right. Well, no. You're good. So why don't we keep unpacking this? I'm going to skip ahead. Do you want to scan this? Because I know we're running out of time. This will let you guys do a free 30-minute brand consultation with yours truly. This is, you're going to give me all your links and everything you've got. We'll have a brief conversation. You'll leave with no less than 2 takeaways. And what I'm going to do is work on your statement with you, right? Or if you have specific branding, you want to throw a logo at me and ask Caitlin how she feels about it, that's fine too. Whatever you guys are looking for in this conversation, we can talk about. And no pressure. I think Lauren's going to actually drop the link in the chat as well. So if Lauren, you can do that, I'll keep going for the next 3 minutes just to see how far I can get. We were almost done. So after this, we've got your personas, we've got your target market figured out, we've got your UVP figured out. This is all going to generate more revenue. Thank you so much for coming, Elizabeth, by the way. And everyone else here, I just know she's popping off, so love you all. Brand positioning leads to more sales because you are allowed to say no. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you're allowed to say no, you're making space for the specific target market and client that is the best person for you. So I would encourage you guys to think about what services you provide right now, which ones are the most profitable. Take a look at that package or pricing and figure out who your ideal customers are for that. Build a persona around that and build some messaging around that, because that is going to keep your company moving forward because it is your highest ticket package or service. This is going to create sustainability for your company because then you can build off of that and sales will increase because you know exactly what's coming next, what those people were looking for in the first place, and how you can also help them in the future because a one and done transaction doesn't have to be. It can be converted into a quarterly transaction. You just have to make sure you have the right touch points and add the right value to each conversation. All right. So I know I mentioned visual branding and consistency. So we also have uh, team members and myself that do branding, like the visual branding, so logos and things like that, and everything that comes after that. So just because you have a logo doesn't mean you have the business card, the brochure, the banner, the anything else that might come down the line. We also have to make sure that that's consistent and your brand story is also consistent. So let's make sure we have the story about you and the company. Let's make sure we have the consistent visual branding and identity. And then we have to make sure that the brand is consistent overall. The best compliment I can get, and now I've accomplished this, heck yes, is your in-person brand matches your online brand. Even as a branding and marketing agency, that took us a while. And so that invokes trust and recognition because people know that I'm the real deal. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant when I say that, but they know what they're signing up for. They know what they can expect. And so this applies all across the board. Website, social media, messaging, how you treat people, what you look like at a networking group. Excuse me. And so I encourage you guys to think about all this. And if you do sign up for the 30-minute consultation, we can take a look at everything. And just to wrap things up, I was close. All right. So to wrap things up, the action steps that you guys can take away for today is update your messaging or take a look at your current messaging. Do you have a specific target market? Do you have a unique value proposition? So what makes you different from anybody else in the same industry as yourself? And how do you position yourself in person and online? Now, if you find any holes in that, or identify some areas that you can improve on that, some of those areas might be your social media bios or your content that you're pushing out. How are people perceiving you? Have you ever asked yourself or anybody else that? I guarantee your answer to this question is different than somebody else's. And even if it's similar, they're going to bring you up a little bit. And it's fun to get the actual answer from that. And it's good market research because you know if your messaging is landing or not. And then I'd also invite you to take a look at your website, marketing materials, make sure it's all there, make sure it all matches. And then I would also love that you at least take one thing from this conversation today and apply it to a brand building strategy. So even if you're just starting with target market, do that. And even if you're, working on your unique value proposition, do that. Or if you just need to update your social media bio, do that. I'm a one-step kind of gal, and if you can do one thing at least by today or the end of the week, that's a win. So without further ado, we kind of skipped around here, but this is my QR code for the 30-minute brand consultation. As I mentioned, you will receive no less than 2 takeaways. I want to help you, and I love these conversations. It's like my favorite thing that I do. And so for me to learn about your business, where you're at, if you have any questions, please come. This is not going to be me trying to sell you. This is just a virtual Zoom coffee, one-to-one, and I'd love to hear about you and your business and what your plans are. Well, thank you guys, and thank you for being patient with me, Lauren. If you guys have any, thank you. If you guys have any other questions, you should, even if you look at that link, you should get my email, and my information, I believe, is on the landing page as well. So thank you guys for having me. This was really fun. I love doing this stuff, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. This was awesome. I loved your examples. The one that really stood out to me was the financial planner for dog lovers.
Yes.
Such a creative solution. And I love that tip to look through our photo albums. I'm going to actually do that after this call.
There you go. I'd love to hear what you come up with.
Yeah. So I put this in the chat, but for all of you that are able to meet with Caitlin for her 30-minute session, if you do that during the window of spring training, so that is up until April 4th, you will be able to count that 30-minute session as your startup spring training mentor session, if you would like to. So thank you, Caitlin, for your generosity with offering that. Thanks to everyone for joining. And I can't wait to hear what you all learn in your one-on-ones with Caitlin. I'm excited. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys so much. You guys are so sweet. Thank you.